Sometimes all it takes is a single wrong turn to change everything. A routine drive that should have been simple, a quick detour around roadwork, became the beginning of a nightmare. Emily Harper, a young woman with a whole life ahead of her, vanished into the woods without a trace. No struggle, no final message, just silence. Her car was found abandoned on a dirt road, the tires flat. But Emily? She was gone. What happened after that wrong turn? Was it an accident or something far darker lurking in the shadows? This isn't just a story about disappearance. It's a haunting mystery that still chills the small town of Millfield, where a young woman's fate remains a question mark, whispered about in hushed tones years later. Tonight, we explore what happened the day Emily took that wrong turn, and why she was never seen again. Emily Harper was the kind of person people remembered. She was 28 years old, with warm hazel eyes and a laugh that could brighten the dullest room. In Millfield, a quiet town surrounded by sprawling forests and winding roads, Emily was known not just for her friendly nature, but also for her resilience and kindness. She worked as a graphic designer in a small local firm, but her passions stretched beyond work. She loved hiking, camping, and anything that connected her to the natural world just outside her doorstep. Millfield was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else, and while the town seemed peaceful on the surface, it was also a place where the woods were thick and mysterious, their edges blurring the line between safety and the unknown. Emily had grown up playing near those forests, and yet, on that summer evening in August, the very place she loved would become the backdrop of a terrifying mystery. That afternoon, Emily had left work early. She was excited to see her best friend, Sarah Mitchell, who lived about 40 minutes away in the neighboring town of Pine Ridge. Their friendship had lasted since childhood. They were more like sisters than friends, and Sarah was the person Emily trusted most. Plans were simple: a quiet evening, catching up, maybe some dinner, nothing out of the ordinary. But the usual highway Emily took was closed for construction. A detour redirected traffic onto smaller, less familiar roads. Emily glanced at her phone, trying to map a new route, but the GPS signal was spotty at best. The sun was beginning its slow descent, casting long shadows across the rolling fields and dense trees. She took a left turn down a narrow country road she hadn't driven before, an unfamiliar path marked only by a faded, nearly illegible sign warning of "End of Public Road." Most would have turned back, but Emily was confident she could navigate the detour and get to Sarah's house on time. That decision, to keep driving down that quiet, twisting road, would be the last anyone ever saw of her. As she disappeared deeper into the forested road, the world outside her car seemed to vanish. The hum of distant cars faded, replaced by the sound of rustling leaves and a chilling stillness. The sun slipped below the horizon, leaving only the pale glow of her headlights to cut through the thickening dusk. Back in Millfield, no one knew the storm of fear and confusion that would ripple through the community in the days to come. Friends, family, and local police would launch search parties, but the woods would keep their secret, swallowing Emily whole and leaving behind only questions that would echo for years. Main story. It was about 6:15 p.m. when Emily took that left turn onto the narrow road she hadn't driven before. The road was nothing like the busy highway she'd been on moments earlier. Instead, it was a thin ribbon of cracked asphalt, flanked on both sides by dense pine trees that seemed to lean inward, forming a dark tunnel that swallowed the fading sunlight. The GPS on her phone flickered and went dead almost immediately after she turned. leaving her with nothing but her instincts to guide her way. Emily's hands tightened on the steering wheel. The quiet around her was nearly suffocating. No cars, no voices, only the occasional rustling of leaves in the evening breeze. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from the disorienting stillness. The familiar buzz of the town was replaced by an overwhelming silence that pressed against her from every direction. As she drove deeper, the road surface began to crumble, patches of dirt and gravel replacing smooth pavement. The trees seemed to grow thicker, their shadows stretching like dark fingers over the hood of her car. Emily scanned the sides of the road for any sign of a house or a welcoming light, but there was nothing but empty forest, dense and impenetrable. Suddenly, the car shuddered violently beneath her. The unmistakable hiss of air escaping from a tire filled the cabin. A flat. Emily's stomach tightened as she pulled over, the car coming to a stop on the narrow shoulder with a crunch of gravel. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the rising unease as she grabbed the flashlight from the glove box and stepped outside into the thickening dusk. The air was cool and smelled of pine needles and damp earth. Above, the sky was a fading gradient of deep oranges and purples. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote howled, a haunting reminder of how isolated she was. Emily pulled her jacket tighter around her and popped the trunk, her fingers fumbling with the spare tire and jack. She moved deliberately, aware that every noise she made echoed eerily through the trees. As she worked, a strange feeling crept over her, the sensation of being watched. She paused and scanned the dark woods, but saw nothing but shifting shadows. The hairs on her neck prickled, and she swallowed a lump in her throat. Then she heard it, a faint rustling from just beyond the tree line. "Hello?" she called softly, her voice trembling slightly. No response. Just the whisper of leaves stirred by a gentle breeze. Finishing the tire change as quickly as she could, Emily climbed back into the car. But as she turned the key in the ignition, the headlights seemed dimmer than before, barely cutting through the darkness ahead. She hesitated. Should she wait here until morning? Try to walk back? Her phone was dead. No signal, no help. She glanced back toward the trees. That's when she saw it. A faint glow flickering through the branches, as if someone had a lantern or a flashlight. For a heartbeat, she thought she imagined it, but the light pulsed again, closer this time. Emily's breath caught. She locked the car doors, her heart racing as the glow seemed to drift nearer to the road. Then it vanished. Panic rising, she decided she couldn't stay. She grabbed the jacket and flashlight again and stepped into the night, walking toward where she hoped to find a road or a house. The dirt path beneath her feet was uneven, littered with twigs and stones. The forest swallowed the beam of her flashlight quickly, and her footsteps seemed to echo louder than they should. The voice came again, a whisper, almost too faint to hear. "Help!" Emily froze, eyes wide, scanning the darkness. Was it someone in trouble? Was she hearing things? "Who's there?" she called out, voice shaking. No answer, just silence. After what felt like hours wandering, she stumbled on a clearing. In the middle stood a small cabin, weathered and worn, its windows boarded up and roof sagging. A chill ran down her spine. It looked abandoned, but the door hung ajar, creaking on rusty hinges. Her flashlight flickered as she stepped closer. "Hello? Anyone here?" Nothing but the silence of the night. Suddenly, a faint whisper floated from inside. "Help me." Emily's breath caught. She backed away slowly, heart pounding. Whatever was inside wasn't welcoming. She turned to flee, but stopped cold. The spare tire she'd put on earlier. Gone. No tracks, no sign it had ever been there. The forest was empty. Alone, scared, and with no phone, Emily plunged deeper into the woods, disappearing into the shadows. Back in Millfield, when Emily didn't arrive at Sarah's house, worry quickly turned to panic. Sarah called Emily's phone over and over, but it went straight to voicemail. The police were alerted, and a search was launched immediately. Volunteers combed the detour roads, scanned the forest edges, called out Emily's name until their voices cracked. But there was no sign of her. No footprints, no abandoned car, no clue. It was like she'd melted into the earth itself. Days bled into weeks. The town held vigils, prayers, and frantic hope, but as time passed, the hard truth settled like dust. Emily Harper was gone, and nobody knew why. Reveal or twist. Months after Emily's disappearance, when hope was beginning to wane, a local hiker named Mark Benson made a discovery that reignited the search and deepened the mystery. Mark had been trekking a seldom-used trail not far from where Emily's car had been found. Near a moss-covered log, partially buried beneath damp leaves, he spotted something unusual. A weathered, leather-bound journal, its pages soaked and dirt-stained but intact enough to read. Curious and somewhat cautious, Mark brought the journal to the Millfield police. What they found inside shook everyone who read it. The handwriting was unmistakably Emily's, neat, precise, but increasingly frantic as the entries progressed. The journal painted a chilling picture of what Emily experienced in those final hours. At first, she wrote about frustration over the flat tire and the hopelessness of being stranded in the middle of nowhere with no phone signal. But as the entries continued, the tone shifted. There were mentions of strange sounds coming from the woods, whispers, footsteps, voices that seemed to come from nowhere. One entry read, "I don't know if I'm imagining it, but sometimes I hear someone calling my name. It's soft, almost a whisper. I feel eyes on me all the time. I'm scared." As the days passed, the journal became a desperate cry for help. Emily described seeing shadowy figures glimpsed between the trees, lights flickering in the distance that disappeared when she tried to approach, and a growing feeling of being hunted. Then, the last entry. It stopped abruptly mid-sentence. "If I don't make it back, know that the forest is..." The journal was never completed, leaving a haunting cliffhanger that suggested Emily's fate was tied directly to the dark woods that surrounded her. But the revelations didn't stop there. After the journal surfaced, a man named Tom Reynolds came forward with a startling confession. Tom was a logger who had worked in the area for years, and he claimed he had seen a woman matching Emily's description near an abandoned logging camp about 10 miles from where she disappeared. Tom's story was unsettling. He said he saw her wandering near the old camp buildings late at night, looking lost and frightened. When he approached to offer help, she vanished into the trees before he could reach her. The camp itself was desolate. Empty cabins with rusted tools scattered about, no signs of recent activity. Police searched the logging camp thoroughly, but they found nothing that explained Emily's disappearance. No footprints, no belongings, no signs that anyone else had been there recently. It was as if she had simply disappeared into thin air. This led to whispers and speculation about the woods, stories of strange happenings, unexplained sounds, and an eerie feeling that the forest itself was alive, watching, waiting. Some locals spoke of the shadow people, Mysterious figures that sometimes appeared near the logging roads, fleeting glimpses of something not quite human. Others believed Emily had been abducted, either by someone lurking in the shadows or by a stranger who took advantage of her vulnerability after the flat tire. But without evidence, the theory remained unproven. The journal added a deeply human element to the mystery. It wasn't just about a woman lost in the woods. It was about fear, isolation, and a growing terror of being hunted by something unseen. It transformed Emily from a missing person into a voice in the dark, begging for understanding that never came. Years later, the case remains cold. Emily Harper's disappearance is still unsolved. The forest has kept its secret tightly locked away. The journal, a chilling reminder of a life abruptly interrupted. Closure. Emily Harper's story is one of countless disappearances where the line between the known and the unknowable blurs. The young woman who took a wrong turn into the dark woods didn't just vanish physically. She vanished from the very fabric of a community, leaving behind only questions, fears, and an emptiness that no search party could fill. Her last words, scrawled in that fragile weathered journal, remind us of the fragile nature of safety and the profound loneliness that can come from being lost, not just in place, but in time and memory. In small towns like Millfield, where the forest seems to breathe just beyond the streetlights, stories like Emily's are passed around like warnings. They're about more than missing people. They're about the forest itself, a living, watching presence that holds its secrets tight. Some say the shadows there are just tricks of the light. Others believe something darker hides just beyond the trees, something that takes those who stray too far. What happened to Emily? Was she taken by a stranger, or did the woods themselves claim her? Was it fear and exhaustion that pulled her deeper into the forest, or something else? Something waiting silently in the dark? The answers might never come. Maybe that's the most chilling part of all. The idea that a single wrong turn can erase you, not just from your life, but from the world you thought you knew. And sometimes when the wind rustles through the pines on a quiet summer night, you can almost hear a faint whisper on the breeze calling a name that's never quite there. So the next time you're behind the wheel, driving down an unfamiliar road as the sun dips low, remember Emily Harper. And remember that sometimes the path you didn't plan to take is the one that leads into the unknown. Because sometimes the wrong turn is the last one you'll ever make.